camera. This is what the
This one? Is this one working? Yep, that one's working okay. So let's get everything turned on, turned up, and everything's set up and out. Let's pop out the chat here. Copy that. Bloop. Chat is live. And the Book of Faces. So, yes. Good morning. A few small projects that we're going to be working on today. The first is trying to finish off this guy, which is actually a project I'm working on for my professional job, not just Knightsmith here. And this one looks like it worked. However, it's going to require some heavy sanding. Yeah, most of it worked just perfect. This is cool. So pop this up apart here and no. As cool as my 3D printer is and all the stuff it can do, I do kind of wish I had a different one. And good morning, Ken. How are we doing today? Let me clean up a little bit here before I, do something stupid and end up angry. How are we doing today, Ken? Oh boy. So, a project I've been working on is satisfying. Sometimes cleaning these prints off can be just so nice when everything just pulls apart the right way. Anyways, what I have been doing is taking the models that I've been working on in the office and trying to get them so I can print scale models of the projects off of my little printer. But there is a slight twist. Because it's not just like a static thing. And it's not just a shell either. Some sanding will be required. Hoping I could get away with it without it. Anyways, so here's the building I'm doing right now. So we're converting a barn. It's part of a much larger project. But I mean, I got it so you could see all the windows on the outside and the shutters for the windows. I got the staircase, little handicap ramp over here, kind of floating out in space. Got all the rooms all done, and everything's the correct size because it's from the model that we made to be the correct size. So, ideally, when I take the second floor, I should be able to pop it onto the first floor. But that won't work there. See, there's a little bit of warping that goes on. And when the print head moves up on the z-axis, deposits extra material. I think I got that problem over here, and I definitely have it over here. But where's the roof for this? Anyways, I'll give you a quick doobly-doo. First floor, second floor. First floor roof back there. Supposedly goes on like that. And then, which way does this go? Barn roof will go on like that. Once I get everything all, sanded and worked out. Kind of cool. I think I want to print this barn roof in a different orientation. Because there's a lot of warpage that went on here. I don't think that's gonna. I think that's going to cause it to not want to sit down properly. Also, supporting that like that is just a bad idea. There's so much cleanup, and there's still so much cleanup in there to do that it's almost not worth it. But you live and you learn. I've never printed artworks, much less scale, real architectural models. So it's a learning curve. But I'm pretty happy with how this has come out so far. That's kind of cool. Like, you can actually see and hold the building in your hands. Like, I did that. How crazy is that? I tried doing the porch as well, but yeah, something has to be done with that because, well, first off, this got a little warped too, so it's kind of a ski slope over here, and all these little guys here. I don't know if you can even see them. But it's missing quite a bit. I knew they were going to be thin and spindly because, well, at this size, it's going to happen. Well, you live and you learn, right? I think one thing I do need to do. Alan, good morning. One thing I do need to do is build some sort of a shroud for the 3D printer now. So that the heat doesn't get all screwy in there, and you get less warping. Because this is, I mean, the top of this guy here looks straight, but both these sides down here like banana peels. Anyways, that's the first thing I'm working on today. Other than just generally cleaning and stuff. The second thing is that witch table that I made a long time ago is broken again. And I am trying to figure out a way to secure the nuts and bolts a little bit better. It's cool that, that actually has a little bit of weight to it too. Originally I was going to try and fill the inside of this with some sand, but just way too small. I would like to get my hands on a bigger printer. Specifically the Cobra Max 3. It's on sale right now. It's usually about $1,000. It's on sale for $600. But due to a few interesting things, my savings kind of got wiped out. So we'll see how that goes. And Alan, you got another project this afternoon. What project is that? Oh, boy. Anyway, so here's my idea for how to keep this nut captured. Here's the original piece. What I've done is I cleaned out all the epoxy, right? And on 3 sides, I've done undercuts. And on the other 3 sides, I put these like triangular registration pieces. On the nut, I've cut little keys into all 6 corners. And then on the top, I've also cut little keys so that the epoxy can have a mechanical hold on this as well. Rather than just relying on a fairly snug fit and a chemical bond, which clearly didn't work. And then what I'm going to be doing is also sinking in a couple screws where those where these 3 keys are. Let's see, Alan, going to be tapping my maple tree for the first time in an attempt at making homemade maple syrup. That's cool. Yeah, I guess now would be the time of year to start doing that, now, wouldn't it? Because you want to get it when the sap runs. And it's going to start getting, hot and cold. You're going to start getting that hot and cold cycle, aren't you? Now, do you want to tap it when you want to do that in the morning or the afternoon? I don't know which is better or if it matters. You're going to need a lot of syrup, though. You're going to need a lot of trees. So it's like, well, what's the ratios here? I knew this once upon a time. Sap. Look at that. And it's about 40-to-1 ratio. However, the exact amount depends upon the sugar content of the sap. Calculating sap to syrup. To estimate the amount of sap needed to make syrup, you can use the Jones rule of 86. Divide 86 by the percentage of sugar in the sap. For example, if the sap is 2% sugar, you'll need 43 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. Yeah, 40-to-1, roughly. Huh. It's actually less than I thought it was. Now, what type of maple do you have? Is that a sugar maple? Is it That's cool. And did you make the tap yourself? I know it's basically just a curled up shoehorn that gets hammered into a tree and then a bucket hung off the end. I wonder if there's better ways of doing that. You'd think there would be by now. Having some Maxwell House this morning. I desperately got to clean today. trying to fix the or to carve out some of the supports for inside the barn roof over there. A knife slipped. Been bugging the piss out of me all day. It was this guy too. This little chisel. I think it was on this slightly raggedy end over here, because this has been itching like you wouldn't believe. I do eventually want to take all my chisels. I don't, but I should. They should all have like a nice razor edge on them, so you don't have to push and struggle with things. 'Cause that's how this happened. I was pushing a little too hard, and then when the plastic finally cut, this just skidded off and right over the top of it. And yeah, I was very unhappy. But I was talking to a guy last year, I believe. Maybe it was the year before. It was some festival, and they were having it in Edwardsville or somewhere over that direction. And there's a guy selling homemade syrup. And I believe he had some. Actually, yeah, he had a bunch of very interesting syrups, because of course he had the maple variety, from sugar maples. He had silver maples, which for a woodworker, that's like a rock maple. He had like 5 or 6 other trees though that I never thought you could make syrup from, but apparently you can make syrup from pretty much any non-toxic tree, which is kind of cool, actually. I think he had walnut, black walnut. I don't know why, but sharpening and stropping to me are very peaceful activities. Even these little weird, bowl gouges, which I thought would work a little bit better, because I could just kind of go in there and rock it back and forth and slice the plastic while pushing not as much. Didn't work so well. Also, I could definitely put a better edge on this. These were originally given to me by a friend of mine who was taking an art class. I forget exactly what they were doing, but they were using linoleum, linoleum squares, and carving them to make like block printing basically. And then you, I guess, glue the linoleum to something that had a handle. So have it face up, put your ink on it, really rub the ink in there and make sure it's only in the right places, I guess. Go and do your print. I don't know. I'm assuming if you did multiples, you could go in, get your, you know, you could get a nice layered effect. That could be pretty cool. Maybe eventually that's something I'd like to try, but I got so much on my plate, ain't gonna happen. Yeah, I really gotta clean this place up today. It's starting to become a little overwhelming for me. A little very overwhelming, to be honest. Gotta go through a bunch of boxes and take stuff into the basement. Still have to get rid of my Christmas tree too. Managed to take all the ornaments off last week. Or the week before, I don't remember. But I need to get the tree out and get that taken up to the shop at some point. Then I could chop it up. Chop, chop, chop. I think I'm in a bit of a meandering mood today. Just because, I don't know. My brain doesn't want to really settle on one topic today. And Ken, I'm guessing it's still too cold for you to do any projects, right? Chat is lagging a bit today. Heads up. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, I don't know. Some things get a little laggy every now and then. I don't know why. More than they should. Let me see if... Well, that's on YouTube itself, so it should be good there. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, always, I appreciate the heads up. So yeah, those are my two projects for today. I also got to get this guy put back together. I think I'm going to sink a couple screws into this as well. I mean, it's holding very well. But if I'm going to start, you know, pulling out screws and doing all that jazz, might as well go all the way, right? A little bit of wood glue, a lot of bit of epoxy. Did miss this corner. That popped off somewhere in the shop, and that's just gone. It's gone, girl. But I'm not going to remake it. Once this is in, I'm just going to fill this with epoxy. Call it good enough. This project has come back into my shop too many times. Bought a spile kit. Gonna run it into a water dispenser jug. What the hell is a spile kit? Spile. Okay. Oh, okay. So they're interesting. I guess you got the one from Tractor Supply. What are these ones? So I found another one here on Amazon. These ones are plastic though. Pick a tree, minimum of 12-inch diameter, measure 2 to 3 feet up. Hoping to get enough to do my French toast cordial. That sounds delicious and very fulfilling. Like, yes, this is my French toast cordial made with my maple syrup that I got from that tree right there. That would be really awesome. Measure 2 to 3 up, drill a hole about 1.5 inches deep at a slight upward angle. Attach tubing to short end of spout, lightly tap spout into the hole. Insert end of tubing into a food-safe container. Collect sap daily. Store sap below 40 degrees. Filter and boil down sap. Refer to the detailed included instructions for its process. And bottle up and taste the amazement. Fun for the whole family. I'm sure it is. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off or not. Just speaking of the French toast cordial. And this is an idea that I've been, bouncing around in my head for a little while, and I think I talked to Jill about it. About possibly doing a Redwall Abbey themed, like, spring feast or something up at the Sanctum, where everyone would take, and it's just French toast cordial reminded me of that. They have a lot of I don't know if you're familiar, or if you are, if anybody else is familiar with the Redwall Abbey series by Brian Jacques. But basically they have a bunch of these animals, and they're slightly anthropomorphized, that tell these old school, old English type stories, and they're very fun, and they take place in this abbey. Different, you got different mice and badgers and all sorts of things, small critters. I don't know why, but the last 2 days I've just been exhausted. Like yesterday, I took a huge, I took like a 2 hour nap on the couch, and that was glorious. The last good 2-3 days I've just been exhausted. Anyways, Redwall Abbey. I don't even know how many books this guy made for the series. A bunch of them, 12 at least, I think. Anyways, he is always very, very detailed when it comes to the food. And there are several really amazing sounding recipes and stuff. And it's to the point where they've actually, collated all the recipes from all the books and made them, gave them a dedicated cookbook, which I think would be amazing. But with the amount of stuff I have going on, I don't know if that's a possibility. First, I need to get this house fully in order, I think, first. And I think that should have been my main priority instead of trying to start my workout journey, which is not going so well. I ended up hurting my shoulder a couple weeks ago, which didn't allow me to do a lot of the motions. And then last week I threw up my back, so I haven't been able to do anything this week, which makes me rather upset. And it still hurts. So I don't know if I should take another week and just stretch it, kind of baby it, try to jump back in. Should I abandon ship and focus on, getting the house clean now? I don't know. I do think if I give it a good concentrated effort over the next week, I should be able to, get the house cleaned. Yeah. I already went through and, got rid of a bunch of old paperwork and mail and stuff, which has kind of been vexing me for a long time. Much longer than it should have. And I think this spring, I want to do some vertical gardening here at the apartment. It's more of a house, I guess. Yeah, this is a house. I like to do some vertical gardening. I found a couple kits that are like $100, $150, and they're like 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall. Take about 4 or 5 yards of soil. But you can put in them like 40 plants. It's not too bad. I think if I build like a little platform just to keep everything kind of off the ground a little bit. Not super high, like maybe 6 inches. Just so a little extra protection from critters is basically what I'm looking at, or looking for. And so that has the least impact on the ground possible, so my landlady can't be too upset with me. But I think if I get like a handful of those, so I could start, even just 2. I start growing some, radishes and maybe some celery, lettuce, stuff like that. Maybe have a couple, maybe do a small raised bed so I can throw some tomato plants in there. Yeah. It might be something to do. It might be something to do. I got all these hooks hanging off the front of the house under the porches. Think about making some, either making or buying some hangers, so I can put some hanging plants in there and make this place pretty. It's a pretty house is a happy house. But that's all stuff to happen in the next couple months. It's still too cold to be worrying about all that hoopla. At least with any seriousness. And I still want to do something in the garden beds those beds that I made at the shop. I'm fairly certain I could get something pretty nice for up there. But I need something I need a sort of plant that's super, super low maintenance, Probably root vegetables would probably be better. I'm not sure if potatoes or carrot. I tried doing onions last spring, and not a single one of them sprouted. Surprising. Was it last spring or the spring before? That doesn't matter. But not a single one sprouted. Pretty disappointing. Because I made a grid and spaced them all out, and I made sure they were all the right depth. I had Little Man help me, of course. He did all the actual planting of them, put all the dirt on them, and packed it in nice. And we watered it, and watered it. A few days later, we watered it again, and watered it again. Nothing. And Alan, you got the stainless kit from Amazon. Oh, I didn't see a stainless kit. I saw. Let me see here. Is it this one? I'm sure they're all basically the same. They'll serve the same general function, at least. Sugar sand filter. What the hell is that? Oh no, what's that about? Sugar sand is a natural sediment that forms in maple sap when it's boiled down to make maple syrup. It's made up of minerals like magnesium and calcium that precipitate out of the sap. Sugar sand is also known as a nitrate. Ooh, good for the garden. Sugar sand forms when water is boiled away from sap, leaving behind concentrated minerals or nutrients. The amount of sugar sand and maple sap varies from year to year and by region. That makes sense. Sugar sand can build up at the bottom of evaporator pans. How do I filter sugar sand out of maple syrup? Filter the syrup at a temperature of 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Use a syrup filter and pre-filters. Stack multiple filters in layers. When the filter slows down, remove the top layer and continue filtering. Makes sense. Why should I filter sugar sand out of maple syrup? Sugar sand can make maple syrup look cloudy or wispy. If left in the pan, sugar sand can burn, which can damage the pan and make the syrup taste burnt. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Shrimp and hot root soup. That sounds like a Redwall Abbey recipe. Shrimp and hot root soup. That is. It's from the Redwall cookbook. 2 tablespoons unsalted butter, 1 large onion, 2 medium leeks, 1.5 cups of vegetable stock, 3 medium potatoes, curry or chili powder, salt and pepper, 8 ounces of shrimp, and a cup of milk. That sounds delicious. Add shrimp and milk, heat gently, serve with crusty bread. You know that would go real good with like a beer bread. See, a large part of medium melt butter. Do not let the vegetables brown. That sounds good. The signature soup of otters far and wide. Be generous with the curry powder, or considering adding chopped peppers. Yeah, I think that one would go good with a good spice. Definitely want to get that cookbook. You know, reading those books. I love cooking, and reading those books as a kid were some of the reasons why I enjoy cooking so much. They're just fun and amazing stories. And the way they take such time and care and everything and show such love with their cooking just really instilled that for me, into me from a young age. And Alan almost got the string done for the crossbow. Just have to finish serving the one end loop. That's cool. Would love to make a crossbow. I think I want to start though with doing some of those medical tubing bows and stuff. I tried making a bow when I was much younger. Spent days carving this thing. Used a knife. It was a kitchen knife. Not quite a cleaver. I don't remember what it was. But I got this knife just to do this job. And I spent, I think it was about 4 or 5 days taking this pole of ash and trying to turn it into a bow. And what I was reading, and I misread it, but it's like you want a nice D shape to it. And I understand now, but you can really give thicknesses. So I just thought it was like a large letter D. You know, you want an 1.5 inches wide. Okay, got it. So if it's going to be a D, that's an 1.5 inches wide. It's got to be at least a 1/2 inch thick. It's pretty thick for a bow. Anyways, it was very thick for a bow. I used a bunch of artificial sinew. I don't know if I have any lying around right now. I got it somewhere. And I made a bowstring for it. You know, I did the proper measurements. It was, what was it? It was, I think the bow from tip to tip was 42 inches, roughly. And I forget where it maths out, but I did all the math and got it all done. Did this when I was in high school. So there's the internet, but it wasn't like it is now. There was no YouTube. There was hard to find forums and search things. It was difficult. But I found a tutorial and I printed the whole thing out. And I, like the dweeb I am, I printed everything and made it into a scroll. The thing ended up being like 4 feet long. Anyways. So yeah, that bow was super thick. And by the time I got everything and I wrapped my legs around it so I could lever it against my foot and my thigh so I could get the string up on the end. And I had just almost gotten the string to the end. Like I had my finger on the tip and I was just trying to push it over. That little whole thing snapped. And it sounded like a gunshot went off in that place. It was awful. My parents came running downstairs and it was bad. I was angry. I was very, very angry, very upset, and very disappointed. That's besides the point. I saw one crossbow that was with the tubing that had a bunch of gears, kind of, that the tubing ran through. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of that was, to give it more length or draw length, more draw length, more power, so on and so forth. But it was very interesting. I'd like to find that again. I think that would be fun. I also want to learn how to start slinging. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. And it's not hard, or at least it shouldn't be hard. I'm a leather worker. I should have all the materials here, minus the stones. I'll make a couple of those today. Make one of those today. Find the artificial sinew. They're in 6-foot strips, twisted and braided together. Take a couple of those guys, braid them together so I can get my two sling ends, and see how. I have no idea how to even use a sling. I just know the basics, like the super basics. It's a little pouch type thing. You put your shot in. I think one end has a leash for your hand, for your wrist, so you don't throw the whole thing. The other one I think just has a knot or something that you hold on to. So you throw it. You kind of let go of that and kind of point. That's kind of where it wants to go. I know you can get super accurate with them. And there's this one guy. He was out there, slinging it somewhere where it echoes and stuff. It's kind of like a valley with all these like hard surfaces. And he said, I was reading the Bible before I came out here to test this out. And I read the part about David and Goliath. And now that I'm standing here, and I've used this a few times, and let me show you how it sounds. And it was just a huge crack, like someone fired off a 30-06 in a basement. That's what it sounded like to me. The guy said, it was no miracle. Goliath didn't stand a chance. David was using physics. It's like, well, yeah, kinda. Apparently you can get pretty big rocks in there. So I don't know. It's one of those things I want to try. I want to try slinging. I want to try making some crossbows and some some of those tubing things. I saw a really cute one that used a walnut, of all things, as a body. Of course, the shell was hollowed out. Had the shaft in there, or for the shaft. I forget how the guy had it, but he had a bunch of stuff around it. Yeah, just a little dart gun. It's cute. Anyways, that's my hour. I got nothing accomplished today. But some meandering conversation. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you warmed up with some coffee. I had some Maxwell House this morning, which is, well, it's coffee. I didn't get nothing done. It's going to be a long day, I think. Anyways, thanks for coming out, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And thank you for helping make this world better. One kerf at a time, and I'll see y'all next week.